Corn School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by Headline Amp Fungicide and Pride Seeds.
Sean Dilliot here from Kearney Planters with Real Agriculture. We want to do a little bit of a segment today on planter maintenance, corn planter maintenance to be specific. We want to do a little walk around. We'll show you what we look for when we bring this in. This particular planter is being set up for corn. The first thing that the guys are going to do when we bring this planter in is we're going to do what we call the frame segment. So we're going to go over hydraulics, we're going to go over the frame, we're going to go over wheels, hubs, wiring, everything. Make sure there's no pinch points, make sure that the hinges are in good shape, make sure everything takes grease, and we always start with our frame segment first. So as you can see, this particular planter, we've got a lot of stuff, we've got a lot of moving parts, we've got a lot of things to check, we've got a lot of adjustments to do. Once we get that done, we can move on to the next segment. The next stop for us here at Kearney Planters is the row units. So we go over the complete row unit, we check the whole thing, check our parallel arms, check our parallel bushings, our bolts, make sure that everything's tight in working order, no excessive play. Always make sure you're diligent about tightening those up every 2 to 3 years. We check the blade wear down in here. We check the inner scraper. We check the gauge wheel bearings. Check our trash wheel bearings. We check our bushings on our tailstock. We check our closing wheels. Go over the whole thing. Make sure you check your idlers, your chains. On this particular planter, we're putting electric drives on, so all the drive line, as you can see, is gone. But when you have electrics, you have to make sure you check all your plugs, your wirings, make sure there's no pinch points. But we want to check this row unit every single winter from top to bottom. Make sure your maintenance is up to snuff. Make sure we haven't missed anything. The next place we're always going to go is a fertilizer system on a planter. On this particular planter, all we're left with is some tanks. Because we've taken the system off, the customer is buying a completely new system, we're putting that on in place of it, but that would be our next maintenance stop. Check all our lines, check the pump, check everything out. Make sure you go over everything, no kinks, no errors, no misses. It'll make your spring a lot better. But always we try to do the liquid or the dry fertilizer before we move on to the last segment. So the last step we're doing today on the corn planter for maintenance would be your electronics, your wiring, your routing, everything else. This particular planter, we've stripped everything off of it. We're going to reinstall it. It's getting this monitor system. It's basically a controller. We'll control all the electric drives. We'll control the hydraulic downforce. And we also have our control boxes that control the functions of the planter, such as raise, rotate, tongue in, tongue out, wing locks, that kind of stuff. During the maintenance, you should be looking at all those components, all the plugs, all the wiring, all the controllers themselves. Make sure everything functions, make sure everything works, make sure the wires are done properly. Remember, do not use white wire ties. Always use black. Black are UV resistant, they will last. And spend money on good wire ties. Always make sure you check the functions in the shop or when you've got the tractor hooked to it. Very often we get those phone calls in the spring, person was working on a planter, they didn't check every last little thing. When they go to put a marker out or take a wing lock off, it doesn't work then. Usually it's something as simple as an improper ground, but if we check all those things in the spring or in the winter while we're doing it, in the springtime, life will be a lot easier. So always remember, be thorough, go over everything. It takes far less time in the off season than it does when we're trying to plant.